Hi there crafters, thanks so much for checking out this 12 by 12 scrapbook layout. It is using Paper Rose products. I am taking it from my earlier share, which was all about pretty and pastel, and we're going to get a little bit grungy with this Blueprints 12 by 12 paper collection. It is one of the older collections, but I really think that you're going to love these papers. They have a beautiful masculine feel to them and some really fun cut aparts and pieces that you could use to create some fantastic textured pages. All right, so I didn't realize at the time, but this video actually turned out to be a very similar layout to the Primrose Garden that I shared earlier this month, and it is sort of kind of goes along the lines of having this photo to the left and some embellishment clusters. Obviously the layouts are not exactly the same because there's a different mix of embellishments and different patterns and things like that. But if you're noticing that the layouts are quite similar, please understand that was not my intention, and it was purely just fluke that I basically just look at the elements that are available to me and take inspiration from some different pieces. So as you can see, the piece where I'm not even sure what to call this, so I'm going to call it a circular piece. It does get fussy cut later on, and I'm actually going to include that as quite a feature of the layout. So it doesn't start for me in an intentional way. I purely just am happy to allow a layout to grow and develop. So the things that I know is that I'm going to use my distress tool. Absolutely a super easy way to add some texture and interest without adding too much bulk. So definitely, if you're not using your distress tool, you should get it out and have a bit of a go, refresh yourself with it, because it just makes such a difference to your layers and your clustering. Now, I loved this little adventure piece. I thought that was going to be the perfect title for some photos of, this is actually my hubby and his siblings on a like a mountain trip where we took all the kids, and it was one of the first times they'd all been together in some time, you know, living separately and that sort of thing. So it had that real kind of you know, outdoorsy feel, and this particular collection obviously has that bit of outdoorsy feel, but then the die cuts and ephemera that I had were going to work perfectly as well. So really at the moment, having a look at some of these cuttable elements and deciding what I'm going to use. Do I want to cut out one of these light bulbs? They are really cute, but I don't think they quite suit the theme that I'm going for here. And I decided to go just with circles because I have that circular element that I am going to fussy cut as well. So that just kind of blends everything in together, and bringing in some of those clocks and different cogs and wheels and those circular elements is going to be really fun. So as I turn off my camera here shortly, I'm going to go ahead and just add some white splatter so that while that's drying, I'll do my fussy cutting and come back to put some more of this layout together. So you can see I have added a second layer of patterned paper. I just needed to lighten it up a little bit to bring it away from this sort of darkish background that I had going on, and I've distressed both the layers there. And it came time to apply this circular piece, and my apologies for the fiddling here, but I could not get it to go where I want it to. So back to the drawing board, I'm going to cut a few little pieces off, and once I'm happy with its position, grabbing my little My Sweet Petunia glue, which I absolutely love. This is the best investment I think I've ever made for my crafting. It's one of those tools like your cutting mat and different bits and pieces that you'll use quite often. So if you haven't checked out the glue gun from My Sweet Petunia, absolutely get yourself one of those because they are so worth it. Now I'm going to glue that down, and I'm really liking how this is developing. I've got some cogs, some wheels, some circular elements to tuck in behind my square photo element, and this really just pulls the eye. So it's really cool to see how this square and distressed edges just sit against that circular background and the piece of torn paper as well. I love that sort of torn diamond shape in the background. I think it's really so interesting, and you could do it two ways. Like you could tear your main 12 by 12 sheet and tuck some paper in behind it, which would look really cool if you did, again, distress the edges. But there's some really easy ways just to add simple layers of texture. And if you're new here and you haven't seen many of my videos, I'm all about just the clustering. I love to have my areas of my pages in that sort of groups of 3 and embellished, and really just, yeah, popping different elements around the page. So having a look at these, I'm not sure that I 100% want this top right hand corner, and it does get moved later on in the layout. And one of the circular elements does get left off, purely just because as this kind of develops, sometimes I will know straight away if I want something in a position, and other times I have to sort of think about it or audition the piece and decide where it should actually go. Now, my clustering around my photo is sort of a little bit unfinished. So I like the way the circle elements tuck in behind there, but it doesn't quite fit. And so I kind of go just to a really easy way to extend those cluster elements, and that's purely by bringing the banners, so top and bottom banner, and again, not one on top of the other, just enough to bring your eye and pull you towards that photo without being too sort of overwhelming in the background. Now, I wanted to create some shadow around this frame and sort of just not so much highlight it, but actually, really just creating interest. So I pull out my little black water-soluble pencil, and I use that to add just a little bit of pencil and then some water to activate that pencil, and that's going to give you sort of just a bit of blended shadow. So really fun little technique. And I put the layout aside, and I still couldn't decide if I was quite done. I do have a bit of a problem with that kind of less is more approach. So it was, I was still looking at this upper cluster area and the bottom of the photo thinking, I'm not 100% with how this looks just yet. And so I went back to another patterned paper, which I think still coordinates beautifully, and with a bigger banner, I'm really now starting to feel that top and bottom section are much better in terms of their link to the photo. And so when I was planning this layout, I pulled a couple of stash items. So the feeling of using stash when you're using a new collection or a patterned paper or playing along with certain supplies can really help enhance your creativity. And I loved the sort of the neutrally brown colors of this particular collection, and I felt that it would lend itself really well with some sort of calico twine, and just this process of moving it into sort of I want to try and keep it natural, so I want to follow the natural flow of the bends of the twine, but I like to have it a little bit structured too, so it has to sort of sit in a certain position. And so again, with my favorite little glue gun, this glue sticks so quickly, so you don't need to spend or you don't get to spend a lot of time choosing where your elements are going to go. Be sure to know exactly where you're going to put things before you use the My Sweet Petunia, because it sticks super quick, which is good in some instances like this where I want to get this twine stuck down and I don't want to have my finger sitting on there for hours at a time while the glue dries. to be able to add these little textural elements with a really cheap, easy to use product like some twine is really fun, and I think it really just finishes the layout and adds that extra little bit of dimension. All right, so once I'm finished here, I'm going to twist up this final little piece of twine, hold that down for a couple of seconds to stick, and shortly you'll see some close-ups and the finished product of this layout. I really had fun with this one. I love this masculine feel, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. If you are new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribed. If you're not new and you've been visiting my channel for some time, thank you. I appreciate you. It's wonderful to see your comments and to know how I've inspired your creativity. That's the final product. I hope that you have enjoyed, and thanks for stopping by. As always, happy scrapping.